Some exchange betting companies run short-lived promotions, like months-long offers of low commission. At BetDAG, we wanted to change the way we did things, so we set our commission at 2% permanently. That's 2% on football, horse racing, golf, almost any sport. 2%. That's just one way that BetDAG is changing for the better. For the better, like you. BetDAG, the 2% commission exchange.
Over 18s only, please gamble responsibly.
Welcome to the Roker Rapport Podcast. We have a special edition today. We've got former Swansea, most importantly former Sunderland,
Swansea, I like it.
And former Republic of Ireland international, Thomas Butler. How are you doing? You well?
How's it going? Good. Hanging in there.
I was thinking, do I go Tommy or do I go Thomas?
It doesn't matter really.
It doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah,
Tom?
it's a podcast, isn't it? You can anything goes.
I got
Tommy.
went by the Wikipedia page. It said Thomas.
Oh, is it? Yeah. There we are.
So I'm not very good at icebreakers normally, but I've got a bit of word association. So the first word or the first sentence that comes into your mind when I say this person's name. So Niall Quinn.
Legend.
Kevin Phillips.
Super Kev. I'm thinking that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Howard Wilkinson.
Most boringest man ever.
Peter Reid.
Hard as nails.
Bobby Saxton.
Unbelievable character.
Mick McCarthy.
Honest.
Brendan Rodgers.
Very intelligent.
George McCartney.
Angriest man ever.
I wouldn't have expected that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
George would fight anybody, him. Oh.
so I was looking obviously through. I mean, I'm 32, so I remember the entirety of your time at Sunderland. To be honest, it was like right in my prime. I remember obviously you had a really good youth career over in Ireland. Yeah. I think you won. Was it under 15 Player of the Year or something?
I did,
like that?
yeah. International, yeah.
And then you got signed by Sunderland about, I want to say, 97.
Yeah.
So just talk me through sort of the process of how it happened and how a Premiership club brings over like a young lad from Ireland. Did you speak to Reidy directly, or was it the youth team scouts? How does that come about?
Yeah, well, they have scouts. Like the main thing as a young lad is playing international football, and you think if I get into the under 15s, that's when all the scouts come and watch games. So that's the big goal as a youth team player back in Ireland. And I think Pop Robson was fantastic at the time. Him and Jim Hagan came over, watched the game, said, look, we like him, we like the look of this player. Made a phone call, I went over on trial, and I kind of went from there, really. Now, that's it, really.
How long was the trial for?
It was a week. So it was a week on trial. I think I had trials as well at, Aston Villa, West Ham as well, but Sunderland was the first club I came to. I'd done quite well on my trial as well. Pop liked me. I liked the training ground. Everything about it was fantastic. So that was it really from there. As soon as I came back, they rang up and said, look, we'd like to offer you a contract. It was like an apprenticeship. And I think it was like a 1-year pro contract. So I think it came down to me, not the most academic of people, not the best in school. So this is what you always wanted to do. And especially a club like Sunderland, you were thinking, I don't really need to go to Aston Villa or West Ham. So that was it. Mine made up, and that was it.
Was there any other, because there was quite a few Irish lads at the same time. I remember throwback era players like Brendan McGill.
Yeah, Cliffy Bourne and Shane Hart. There was lots, yeah.
Did they come over with you at the same time, or were they already at the club? Or?
I think that made things a bit easier as well. So I think we probably signed, I think the three of us, was Cliff, Brendan McGill, myself, and then the lads from the north, George McCarthy. So we had a good blend of lads as well. So it was... That helps with a transition of a young player when they go away as well, if you have a bit of familiarity, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was really good team spirit, good crack.
So you had Pop Robson was the scout at the time, but at what point in that transition from sort of doing the trial to going over, does Peter Reid come in, like get involved? Because I'm guessing that, because I think you were, 17, 18 at that time? Yeah,
I was about 17, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when does Reidy come in, when does Reidy have a chat with you? Does that happen, or does that happen?
It does,
after?
yeah, a little bit. I mean, if they want to sign you as a youth team player and they're impressed with you, it literally goes like that. Peter Reid will come and have a chat with you, introduce himself to you, and obviously, you're starstruck. You're like, wow, Peter Reid spoke to me, I can't believe this, So I think when that happened, it was a no-brainer, really. He was like, very friendly. Everyone's very... They always are when you want to sign, don't get me wrong. Everyone's friendly. But, and I think for him then, it's as soon as you sign, you're with the youth team, then it's your job then, right, I need to do my stuff here, I need to impress, I need to get into the reserves, and I need to push into the first team then, and hopefully he'll take notice. And that's what you're hoping for, really.
Who was your manager then? Was it Sbragia?
It was Pop and Rick, but they were... they were fantastic. I remember the training. The training was, I was 16 probably when I first came, nearly 17, I would say. Actually, no, 17. But the training, I used to just come in and sleep. I was in, agony. The fitness levels required in the youth team were phenomenal. They really were. It was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You were out after training, and the standard, you just ran. You ran sometimes till you puked. It was military stuff in the afternoons, but necessary to the way, it was literally like the way they wanted to play and the intensity they wanted to play at, you had to be super fit.
Yeah.
So that was a sledgehammer to your body at that age, it really was. But unbelievable. After a few weeks, I was calling home to my parents, and I was saying, man, they're all crazy over here. I said, we just run all day, and she's like, look, you're an apprentice, you'll get used to it. Your body will adapt and all the rest of it. So... really enjoyed it in the youth team. It's Pop Robson was fantastic. He used to just trust players. He liked technical type players. Let them play. He didn't overcoach. It wasn't robotic or anything like that. And that's why I think we were so successful in the youth team, because he let us play. It was the midfielders and strikers. He would sit back and let you do what you needed to do, and only in major incidents he'd have an input. But other than that, we were all young internationals, so we kind of, we had a strong, really strong 11, really did,
It was a really good team. I was saying before, I sort of remember that year, and it was, McCarthy was the one I think that made sort of the first real breakthrough. Yeah. But nowadays you hear a lot about our academy and the Academy Light, and obviously it's a really impressive facility.
That's unbelievable.
But what was it like back in those days? Because I remember a few
Charlie
of them, Charlie Hurley.
That's great. Yeah, obviously we had nowhere near the standard of what it is now, but you had the 3 porter cabins, so you had the youth team, the reserves, and the first team all separated. But I think the atmosphere was fun. It was brilliant. So we were all kind of so close. We were all together, so you can imagine the stick and the banter between all the groups. Was brilliant, and I think that was even us in the youth team. Our youth team were that strong. We'd tell the groundsman, look, we need the pitch watered. At 11 o'clock, and as young lads having the balls to even say that as an apprentice, you were thinking, in trouble here. But we were that good. We wanted the pitch watered because our passing game. That's what we were all about. And I think credit to Pop. Pop was probably 15 years ahead of what he was doing now. If you look at the way the counter-attacking teams play, fast and flowing football and all the rest of it, we were doing that in the youth team. But it was just typical kind of the Sunderland thing. As the youth team would play different to the reserves. The reserves then would play different to the first team. But we were still successful, in each kind of group. I just think Reidy and all the different coaches ran their own sections really well. They're really good.
It's funny, I spoke to Chris Macon about that sort of era, and he was saying, because I was talking about why the success was so big in the first team around that time, 99, 2000. And he was saying, if you look, it wasn't just us, all of the teams were successful. Each, the reserve team was top of the league, the youth team was top of the league and stuff like that. But was there an ethos where you kind of built to be ready for the way that Peter Reid played, or did you all have your own?
We all played. It was all individual. The youth team would play completely different to the first team, as I said. And sometimes you'd line up. You'd play the first team on a Friday in a practice match, and we'd sometimes pass them off the pitch. And then you'd get 1 or 2 bally or something like that. You'd be late and he'd nail you in a tackle, just to say, right, I'm not letting these. Even though it was just shape, really, Yeah. But Reidy was, he had his way of playing, but he'd watch us in the youth team as well, and he loved that type of way we played. But I think Reidy was a pragmatist as well. Look, these are the players I have in this squad. I'd love to go out and play like Barcelona, but if I don't have the players to do it, I'm not going to do it. And just for the sake of being a Puritan and say, we lost 4-0, but we played great. Reidy was all about results. And, here you go. It speaks for itself, really, in the first few years in the Premier League, how well he did, really,
No, most definitely. You mentioned Bowley before.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Great bloke. Yeah. And I think one thing I found quite interesting is, obviously Bowley went into doing the coaching for the youth team and stuff like that. And I think from the conversations that he's had with a few of the fanzines and the interviews he's done, you realise how much of a close-knit bond he has with people. But from your experience, was there anyone in the first team that, as a youth team player, before you broke in, you could sort of approach for advice and you felt like you could sort of lean on as a senior pro?
Yeah, I think they were all really good, but Niall Quinn obviously was there when I was there, and he was very good with the Irish lads. Myself, Cliffy and Shane Hart, Brendan McGill, he'd take us out sometimes and bring us over to his house. He had stables, horses and all out the back, and he'd bring us to Sedgefield races. And, you don't get that a lot now. They're so separate now, the youth teams. You ask most first team now, say, name some of the youth team players, and they couldn't name them. They're so separated. I don't know really as Sunderland, but generally they're separated. But Quinny was fantastic. It was one of those where he would see that sometimes you get a bit homesick or you get a bit down, and he'd just say, right, lads, come on. We're going to the races, I'll bring you out and, get us a few pints and all the rest of it, even though probably, we shouldn't have. But really good from that perspective of just, look, it's going to get really tough. Your apprenticeship's hard. 2 years, you just do jobs. You're on 42 quid a week, you're broke. You're looking to payday, you get 160 something pound a month, and you're like, I'm broke after 2 days here, I'm struggling. But it's kind of one of those where, that's it's a massive privilege just to be offered even that chance. So when you do get it, you're looking at it, look, if I work really hard here, if I do the business and a manager sees me on the next pitch, Reidy or Sacko, they used to walk around the pitches sometimes, and you knew they were watching. So you kind of always knew that you felt as if you're at Sunderland, if you're good enough, they'll give you a chance. Whereas at some clubs, like at Newcastle, for example, the track record of youth players is horrendous.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'd never send a young lad there. I mean, a little bit, probably tiny little bit better now, that Longstaff young kid doing well
just
for them.
came through.
But there's probably good players there, but they're so separate there, they're just not interested. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't look like it is. Whereas Sunderland always, if they're good enough, right, we'll throw them in and it's sink or swim, see if they're good enough, which is great.
Yeah, massively. And I think when we played their under 21 team the other week, there was literally no players that I knew on their side, and it's
and they battered them as well, didn't they? I mean, it was, and that's
thank God.
That's the problem, I think. Under 21s, under 23 football, it's very hard. I feel sorry for some of them. It's the gulf and the gap between under 23s and even League 2 is massive. So you could be a Premier League under 23 team and think, I'm a player, I'm decent. You go and play against a League 2 team, against fully grown, strong men who have been through the leagues, been around, clubs, good experience as young lads, and just filter down the leagues. They're clever, they're good players. There's good players in those leagues.
Yeah.
So I think it's a wake up call. It's a big shock to the system for a lot of players, because you can get. I did it too long as Sunderland. I played probably 4 seasons in the reserves, and I shouldn't have. I should have done 2. And if I wasn't going to play in the first team, I should have just left, because that's, you're a young lad and you can get too comfortable. Players can get too comfortable and think, it's a cushy number here. I'm captain of the reserve team, which means nothing in reality. If you speak to a manager in League 2 and say, I want to come and play for you, and he says, well, how many games have you played league football? And you'd say, none, but I've played 200 reserve games. He says, I don't care.
Yeah.
I want someone who's played League 2 football, who knows the league. So I feel a bit sorry for them as well. At the same time, my advice to any young player, just if you can get out on loan young, play 1, maybe 2 seasons at the most in the 23s, and if you can go on loan and play against men, do it as quick as possible.
Because look at the likes of Jordan Henderson,
yeah,
he went out. I think he was only 1 or 2 seasons, and he wasn't even that highly rated at that point. And then he went to Coventry and he came back just totally different bloke.
Yeah,
Martin Waghorn's forged a great career, although not at Sunderland and not as high level as Henderson. Yeah. Jordan Pickford, 8 or 9 loans he had or something like that. It was
brilliant.
insane.
And you have to do it. I went on loan to Darlington. I remember Peter Reid called me in the office and there was no discussion. He's like, you're going to fucking Darlington. He said, you're ready, you're going down there. And there was no choice. I think it was 18. Gary Bennett was there, he was the manager, and Monty was the assistant manager. So 2 Sunderland legends, obviously. Yeah. So when I went in, I was skinny. This was all Division 3 at the time, so I was like 3 times less weight than I have now. Obviously, I was the skinniest man ever. And I was playing centre mid in Division 3, 18, with Martin Gray. He used to play for Sunderland.
Martin Gray, yeah, that's a throwback.
And that was a wake-up call. Like, oh my God, the tackles flying about. There was no yellow cards and none of this type of stuff. It was And I think Reid said send them down there to toughen them up, which he was right. Do you know what I mean? So, like, lessons learned, you're up at Sunderland, everything's done for you, your kit's nice and everything, nice training, the grass is beautiful. Down at Darlow, you're training on a cricket pitch, you know, and pitch wasn't the best, and, you know, you had to wash your own kit.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. I was like, how the hell do you wash kit? So you had to take the kit home. Like, Sunderland, it's all done for you. You have 2 sets if you want. You know, it was great. So I remember going down there, and probably the first day of training, I took my kit off and I just threw it in the middle of the ground. That's what you do, and the kit man takes it. And Martin Gray comes on and he says, what the fuck do you think you're doing? And I said, what? He said, where's the kit man? He's not going to... He said, kit man? He said, you're not a Sunderland now, you little spoiled shit. And probably had a go at me, but not in a bad way, just kind of, he was probably winding me up more than anything else. And he said, listen, he said, you've got to take that home, wash it. And I was thinking, I don't even know how to work a washing machine. I was thinking how, it was like that Persil advert when the guy's spilling out all the stuff and he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I was literally like that. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So the jersey, I remember the training kit was red and the shorts were white. So I put them all in together. So and it was a pink strip. Yeah. So I come in the next day, the lads slaughtering me, hammering me, saying, look at him, spoiled. Come from Sunderland, doesn't even know how to work a washing machine and all the rest of it. So even at that young age of 18, you learn and you look back, you laugh your head off thinking, what an idiot, like, do you know what I mean? So, but anyway, I done all right there. I was quite small, so when it got tough in the middle of the park, Martin Gray said, Butts, get out to the wing. And he used to just roll his sleeves up and just run around smashing people. Literally. Now, he was a good player, not just that, but just when it got tough in those leagues, you had to just put your weight around it. I would say, a technical, skillful type player then. So I used to just do my damage then on the wings. And then when I came back, Reidy called me. I was training with I think it was the U team probably. Was it probably reserves or U team? And Reidy shouted out, come over here, you. I was thinking, oh shit, what have I done? I'm in trouble here. He's normally that type of voice. And he said, look, we have Chelsea tomorrow at home. He said, you're on the bench. He said, so are you ready? I fucking shit myself. Like, I was thinking, what? Chelsea, like Premier League. I couldn't believe it.
Was that the 4-1?
Yeah, it was when Kev Phillips scored that cracker. So I was on the bench and I was, I couldn't believe it. I was just thinking, wow, like, as a young kid, you think, oh, this is it. I wanted to always play in the Premier League.
And what a day that was as well.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So... I was on the bench and just doing a warm-up and obviously the stadium was unbelievable and I was just looking around the place just in more of like a fan almost. I was just couldn't believe it. You're just thinking 2 years ago I'm back in Dublin, thinking shit, what am I going to do? I'm shit in school, I don't know what to do. And then 2 years later, you're on the bench against Chelsea, one of the best stadiums in the country. It's you have to give your head a shake sometimes as well. And I think obviously, we won that game. Then afterwards, I think there was high win bonuses then. I think it was something like $5,000 a win for everyone in the squad. So, I mean, I was probably on about 300 or 400 quid a week at the time. So when we won that game, I got $5,000 bonus. Yeah. I remember Bobby Saxton come in. He was like, Tommy, he was like, $5,000. He said, what are you going to do with $5,000? And I was thinking it might as well have been 50 million to me. Yeah. I was thinking, this is unbelievable, $5,000. I was like, straight to the bank machine checking. I've never seen $5,000 in an account before. I just couldn't believe it. But that was kind of like just, it was an unbelievable time then. It was just, was going out in Darlington on loan. It was kind of really giving you a bit of respect to say, you didn't ask any questions, you didn't answer back, you just did as you're told. I like that, and that's your reward. So I think Reidy was really good that way. He was fair, he was strong. He'd let you know exactly where you stood, and I think as a player, you love that in a manager. There's nothing worse than having a manager who speaks in riddles and can't tell you you're either shit or you're good enough or we don't want you. Go see your agent, get out of here. I used to love those. Those were my favourite managers. But it's the ones that, you know where you stand. You play Saturday, you'd be brilliant, and then the next squad, you'd be left out, and then there'd be no explanation or nothing like that. And you'd be thinking,
it gives you nothing to improve on.
Psychopath I'm dealing with here. So those are the ones that were really hard to deal with, but Reidy was brilliant on that. No, you knew what the boundaries were. He told you what they were. If you overstepped them, you got nailed, which is great. So, and again, it didn't complicate anything. It's not rocket science what he was trying to do. Be on time, work hard, do basics right. If you fall outside those parameters, you won't be here. Yeah. That's it.
And it happened quite a few times, didn't it?
Yeah, well, of course it did, yeah.
Now, that was 99-2000 season, I think. Now, I could be wrong, because my memory's getting sketchy, but I am a bit of an encyclopedia. Well. Yeah. Walsall was your debut in the Cup.
Yeah.
I remember it was quite a small attendance, and it was just, I think it was just before that Chelsea game.
Yeah.
That was, I think it was Worthington Cup it was called then.
The Worthington Cup, yeah.
Worthington Cup.
Yeah.
But how does, from a fan side, a League Cup game, you expect to see some of the fringe players, maybe a couple of youth team players and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for you, it would have been such a massive deal. It's your debut.
Yeah.
How does Peter Reid set sort of a youth team player up that's been in and around the youth team squad? He's obviously talked you up, he's signed you, you feel confident under him. What does he say to you before you go out against sort of Walsall? How does he build you up for that? How does he get you ready for it?
Really, I think for him, he just prepared the same as any other game. Like, he just seen you as, look, you've shown in recent months you're good enough. You've done it in training. You've outshone some of the first team players. So, like anything, which is great. Like, in you go. Like, it was giving you an opportunity where, I knew players probably better than me at different clubs. We're just nowhere near it. So you always knew you were at the right club. And, I think on a match day, really, everything was simple. I mean, Sacko done all the tactical stuff and all the rest of it, but it was real basic stuff. And I think that's why I really enjoyed my time at that time. It was wasn't complicated, so it was me growing up in Dublin. I was a street footballer. I used to just play football on the streets, like from coming up from school, throw the school bag in, I was out on the streets till I was pulled into the house, literally. Yeah. So I've gone from that then to Sunderland, where Pop Robson's allowing you to play freely. He wasn't robotic, wasn't trying to change too much about you, just tweak a couple of things. And then I continued on then to Reidy, where, look, you're a good player. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be in the changing room. This is how we kind of play. This is a shape. You just fit into that shape. And if you're good enough, then that's fine. Brilliant. Whereas, again, other managers and coaches, you'll be getting an encyclopedia this thick of where to be in the 15th minute, where to be in the 30th minute, and all this stuff. The last thing you need is to be, players like real simple stuff. If you're worried about where you are or what you're doing before the game, like too much, you have to do basics, don't get me wrong. But if a manager tries to exert too much control, it kills the enjoyment.
Yeah. I've spoken to a few players from that era, Chris Macon, Summerby and stuff like that. And then I think
they were funny, them too. They were good.
Good lads,
They're
especially
like
Chris
show,
Macon. Yeah. Add Mickey Gray into the mix now. Imagine
brilliant.
it's
Three of them. Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
They always talked about. You could see that the team spirit was great, and everyone liked going out and having fun. But I think Bobby Saxton was a huge part. People looked at Peter Reid as the figurehead, but a lot of the, I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Chris Macon, and he said the thing is with Bobby Saxton, you could have the best laugh with him. He'd be the nicest guy, brilliant on the training ground, nothing overly complicated, but you respected him so much you'd never cross that line. And if you went anywhere near it, Reidy would come in. But how important was Bobby Saxton to the team spirit as well as the tactics and the whole setup?
Brilliant, like unbelievable character. You'll never get another Bob again. Like, it's just, you could hear the night, his voice alone. Like, we were young lads as well coming in, so you'd automatically associate real loud, aggressive type voice with I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
But it's just the way he was, like, do you know what I mean? It's the way he communicated. But he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, we had a good one where myself and a lad from Middlesbrough, Michael Robson, were on balls. Our job was just to pump up balls. That was it. And he was obsessed with the pressure in them. I remember one day we went out with 2 bags of balls. And me and Robbo were pumping the balls up and the gauge broke on the ball. So I thought, shit. I said, we're in trouble here. Like, Sacco's going to go ballistic. So we had to guess the pressure on the ball. So we said, look, pump them up harder rather than softer. And it was winter, January, so it was freezing, obviously. So we dropped the balls outside and we were on the third pitch, which was the youth team. So Resis were on the second one, the first team on the fourth. So they were doing shooting. I remember Kevin Phillips was the golden jewel at the time, as in, if anything happened to Kev, we were all screwed. Like, we'd no plan B. So, because he was that good, he was just scoring for fun. So they were doing shooting, and Kev Phillips, like, pinged the ball, and all I heard was, I can't do a Cockney accent, but all I heard was, fucking hell, my fucking toe. And I was just, shit. I said, Robbo, we're in the trouble here, like, So I heard Bobby Saxton then, his voice, this was his voice on the first pitch. And he shouted to Ricky Sbragia. He said, Ricky, big loud voice. And everyone stopped on the 3 pitches because you hear his voice. He said, who the fuck pumped these balls up? And I was like, oh, Robbo. I looked at Robbo. I thought, we're dead, Robbo. That's it. So he said, send them 2 over. So me and Robbo heads down, walking towards the first pitch. So all the first team stopped and Sacco's looking at us. And he goes, did you just pump these balls up? And I went, yeah, listen, Sacko, I said, you know, the gauge broke, the gauge broke in the ball. Like, I don't hear excuses. I don't want to hear it. So the lads came over, took all the balls out, they were like bricks, and pinged them up in the air. So me and Robbo had to head them all. So these balls were coming out of the air, and I was a winger, probably weighed about 150 pounds or whatever it is. So I was heading them, and I was just, every time I headed it, my head just went dark, went blank. It was like getting a punch. But Robbo, he was a centre half of the youth team. He was loving it, and he was like, and heading the balls. I was like, Robbo, stop being enthusiastic heading these balls. I'm in agony here, you know? So Sacko was like, no, he said, don't do that again. He said, Kev's hurt his toe. He's gone in to get treatment. I was like, I couldn't sleep. And I was thinking, if Kev's injured tomorrow and we lose the game, I'm going to get slaughtered here. You know what I mean? So that's why I was more worried about that. But then it was all right. On Friday, Sacko, you would think you're in real bad trouble, but you'd be smiling, laughing probably in the background. So you called us in on Friday and you said, Robbo Butts, get over here now. And I thought, oh shit, he's going to kill us again for something. And he said, right, I've got this state-of-the-art new machine. And he said, this pumps the balls up perfectly. And he showed us this machine. He was delighted looking at it and all the rest of it, you know. And I was just looking at him going, this bloke's nuts. All he cares about is the pressure of these balls. And he said, now listen, you realise why I had to punish you. He said, it's so important. We need them the right pressure and all the rest. He gives a big lecture about the pressure of these balls. And so me and Robbo were just looking at each other going, this bloke's mad, you know, mad. And then he gave us a little slap in the back of the head. He went, listen, don't mess up again now. And he just started laughing, walking off. But brilliant character, like, as in, you know, it's, I'd be ringing up my parents home. I said, man, they're all crazy over here. I said, I'm getting judged, not on football ability. I'm getting judged on how I'm pumping up balls and doing jobs. But she was saying, look, you're an apprentice, son. That's what happens. You have to learn first, and then, you know, all the other stuff comes. But unbelievable character, Bob. Like, he was brilliant. And obviously, you've seen that. Did you see the Premier Passions thing?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I
Love
mean,
it.
yeah, all the swag. They're really bad about swear words over here, aren't they? You have to watch what they say. But I mean, it was just every word was
fucking
beep,
minging.
beep, 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 beep. You know, it was brilliant. But yeah, again, it would have been good to keep Bob around as well in the background as some sort of, you know, because he knew Sunderland inside out. He knew what the fans kind of liked. He knew the culture, people, what they kind of wanted. And I think, you know, I was just saying there, you know, it's just keep people like that around the club, like people like Niall Quinn and all these people that fans like. They have a kind of, you know, association with and stuff like that. And it's just seemed over the years, you know, the shit
it just went, didn't it?
Yeah. It was the atmosphere. I think when we moved from that training ground to only a footballer would moan about this, by the way, because we're so selfish. We are. You know, you move to a state-of-the-art facility, £15 million or whatever it cost, beautiful hydro pools, you know, steam rooms and, you know, all this type of stuff. Lazy boy chairs with PlayStations, like ridiculous, like unbelievable. But I felt when we left the Charlie Hurley and we went there, I think that was it. I think it was literally like within the space of a few weeks, there was no atmosphere. Because the place is so big. The first team then all of a sudden were totally separated to the youth team, and the reserves were totally different. It was such a big place. Now, people have no sympathy for that. They'll go, you winding me up. We're after giving you the best facilities in the country. Probably, I mean, that academy is probably in the top 4, top 6 in the country. Easily. It's unbelievable. But I just think, again, like footballers are human beings. You have to break their habits quick as well. And they lose that type of stuff. And then all the cliques start developing where, you know, instead of a big group of lads together, you have little 2s and 3s break off. Yeah. It does sometimes carry on then to the pitch, to the first team, and there's
a place to hide, isn't there, almost, when it's so big, if you don't want to get involved socially.
Yeah, but that's the thing, you know. I mean, like, I won't talk about Swansea too much. When I was down there, it was very much we had all the lads from different nationalities and backgrounds, and Roberto Martinez was there, and it was a fine if you were sitting at a table with just British lads, you know, or English speaking lads or whatever like that. You know, he said, look, you got to have a Spanish player or a South American player or whatever. He said, so you all had to be sitting together that doesn't know each other, just to get to know everyone. So, and if you weren't, you got fined. So we always had to, every time you sat next to a group of people, they had to be either a different group or different nationality. So it was like common sense stuff from him then, you know. But I think a little bit of Sunderland, it was probably, they're like small little things, but probably make a massive difference on a pitch. Because it was like us going back to the youth team. We all lived in the hostel on the seafront. Yeah, and it was run by Karen and Jim Morty, and they were brilliant. You know, they were like your second parents, and the whole youth team lived there. Now, I don't know how they put up with it, to be honest. We were a nightmare. We were an absolute disaster. Like, we really were. I mean, all teenage boys, and they had to look after us and look after their own family. But it kind of goes back to that as well. The reason why we were so successful probably as a youth team is we, ate together, slept together, fought together as well. We'd be fighting constantly in the thing, but we were all sitting watching telly. There'd be 16 lads watching the same TV.
Yeah, of course.
And then fighting over remote control and having a crack and all the rest of it.
It's massive, that sort of stuff at any level of work, isn't it?
But then when you went onto the pitch, you'd dig out your mate, you'd help him out because you're so used to seeing him and all the rest of it. You were just as one kind of unit. So again, not rocket science. It's just, that's why we're so successful. And I think as well, when they got rid of the hostel, as soon as they got rid of it, I was thinking, what are they doing? You know what I mean? Like, why get rid of something that's working? Why change it? So, but anyway, that's that's another rant of mine.
You talked about Sacko. I don't know whether you know the answer to this, but there's a question that's been bugging me since I was about 11-year-old. Whatever happened with Thomas Helmer?
Honestly, Thomas Helmer was an unbelievable player. The guy won World Cups, do you know what I mean? So I was in the reserves at the time.
Yeah.
And I felt embarrassed sometimes playing with him because he was that good. He was a footballer. He was a technical player. He's not going to be one of those that'll run and jump and smash someone in the air and win aerial duels. Yeah. He was a technical ball playing centre half or even holding midfielder. So I think we just signed the wrong player. I think he was available. He was a big name. I think the club just went, come on, we'll just keep the fans happy. We'll sign this guy, put him in the reserves, which he must have thought. I've won World Cups and now I'm at New Farrens Park, with Tommy Butler, George McCartney and all these lunatics running around with Kevin Kyle and all this. And he must have thought, wow, what am I doing here? I think he was obviously on good money and stuff like that, but he could have played a bit more. But again, his legs probably wasn't quick as well in that league. And then, you're coming up against, coming up against Henry's and people like that, the speed and stuff. He actually would have been better as a holding centre mid, but that system didn't even exist then. No team was playing a holding mid, not in the Premier League then. It wasn't invented probably at that time.
Yeah.
Probably in
4-4-2 straight up then, wasn't it?
Yeah. Probably in in Italy or somewhere like that. Maybe they probably had those types of players. But yeah, I think Sacko's idea of a centre half was, which is most people's, big, strong, aggressive, wins his aerial duels, does things simple, and just stays compact. Nice
Paul
and
Butler,
simple.
for example.
Yeah, Paul Butler done exactly what he wanted. Do you know what I mean? He give you everything he's got. He give you 100%. But look, if you're coming up against those pacey little nippy wingers and you're coming up against Henry's and that, there's nothing you can do. It's not just them really.
Was it because there was obviously big rumours about Thomas Helmer having a fallout with Sacko and that sort of stuff, and everything gets blown out of proportion.
Probably did. Players have fallouts all the time, every day. You see a group of lads that aren't involved in the squad. There's a queue on a Monday morning waiting to see the gaffer. You'd almost sometimes feel sorry for them, thinking, oh God, I've got to explain to all these on a Monday morning the reasons why they're not in the squad. You know what I mean? So it must be tiring sometimes for managers to say, look, you're just not good enough.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you're not playing, is he's better than you. But they just, I think we had a certain way of playing. He just didn't fit the style of how we played, and probably thought, look, I've won World Cups and all that. You need to have more respect and probably play the way I want to play. But it doesn't work that way.
No, not at all. Not where Reidy and Saxton.
No. They have a formula that's working. So why would you change it?
Of course. Now, sort of the following season, I think you played around 7 or 8 games. You did get more into the team in the second season of the 7th place stuff. Now, we had a brilliant squad then. And it was really good. You had Summerby, you had Schwartzy, Quinn, Phillips. You could internationals all over the park, and a really good side as well. You hadn't sort of grew up with that side in terms of you weren't part of the playoffs and stuff like that and things like that. But then you came into it. So I suppose in a sense you came into a really good squad that had a really good unit, really good team spirit from technically an outside perspective, and then went into it. What was it that made that side so good?
I think it was characters as well. I think you were all big characters, like Bawley, Don Hutchinson, who else? Obviously Mickey Gray, Alex Ray. So they're all big characters around it, like Quinny, obviously.
Massive.
Yeah, all big characters as well. They're good players, but all strong, opinionated, good voices as well. Chris Macon as well. When he did speak, like, you got scared a little bit. You know what I mean? So I think that's another thing. Any team I've been in that's been good and been successful. Swansea team I was in that won League One and went on that kind of run through the leagues.
Yeah.
I'd say out of the 11 players on the pitch, they were all strong individual characters, every single one of them. And I think, again, teams that I've always looked at that didn't do well or, struggled probably don't have them. It's not, again, you look at teams that struggle, you probably have one person on the pitch that opens their mouth, that speaks, that organises, that tries to get team spirit and all the rest of it. But most teams that have that amount of characters in it, don't get me wrong, it's probably still hard to control them. You need a good manager to manage those types of personalities. But if you get the balance right, and I think at that time with those lads, especially as a young player as well, coming in and just watching them even, in training, Stefan Schwartz is fantastic.
Just leaders all over the pitch, wasn't it, when you look at it?
All leaders. And then again, even in training, the standards were so high. Like this, you can always tell as well, that's another factor in it. I mean, the intensity in training, again, like, I wouldn't say it's the odd fight now and again. Like I say, George McCartney would be fight with Nicky Summerby every week. They'd have to be pulled off each other in training. Because George, like, as a young lad, you just think, right, Buzzer's getting smashed here. I'm going to just hit him. I don't care if he's a senior player.
Yeah.
But again, good, because as I was a manager, I would love that kind of thinking, training's never going to be dull and boring and people going through the motions. So even our small-sided games, there was like, there'd always be a little niggle or a bit of someone squaring up to someone because the other team didn't want to lose. And that's just in a small-sided game. But then that translates then onto a pitch then. So you have that kind of will to win, and you see these players like Stefan Schwartz, you see them in the gym, how hard they work, and, Mickey Gray as well, fitness fanatic. You see him, his fitness levels were unbelievable. But and you could hear them, you could hear all the voices even in training. Like they acted kind of in training how they play, and vice versa, it was the same thing. So you could always tell, they had the right bunch of players there. But again, it's like anything at a football club. It's planning then for when they're not around or the years after that. And that's where I think recruitment then absolutely massive. If you one bad year recruitment, you are screwed, basically.
We've had numerous.
And that's and that's what I've noticed that over the last 8-10 years. And I was just, it's almost kind of like, I think Roy Keane said it when I think there was a player didn't want to sign because his missus didn't like the shops.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But that's what you're dealing with. Like, I mean, if you're thinking about signing a player because, listen, we're getting a Harvey Nichols in, please sign for us, you can forget it. That player's it's not going to translate well onto the pitch if that's the motivations for some players. And I think Sunderland signed too many of them probably over the last 10 years. Like, if it's a club in London that West Ham want to sign a player on 40 grand a week, oh, look, there's a club called Sunderland. No one really wants to go there, but they'll pay you 80 grand a week. All right, well, I'll go sign for them.
Yeah.
Do you really want that mentality of a player? You don't, do you?
No.
Like, as soon as he's finished training, he's in his car heading for the airport just to fly back down to London or whatever it is. I'm not saying they're all like that, but it was generally that's what the gist you got of it. But it kept happening year after year. And it doesn't, I'm involved in football for 15 years, so probably see a lot of political stuff the fans don't see. But all the fans, the fans aren't stupid. The fans watch. They know. They're talking about the exact same things. Like saying, why are we signing these people constantly for such a long period of time? So it just couldn't keep going. And I think I'm glad now the new guys are in now. They seem a bit more morally connected to the fans and to the people. Like, they seem a bit more down to earth. I mean, even in the community, you see players going out into the community. I think it's in Grant Ledbetter, I think last week, went into town.
In
or
Blandford
something.
Street, wasn't it?
But it makes a massive difference. I mean, at Swansea, sorry about harping on about them, but we had a rota every week where you had, 4 or 5 players every week, and you were on media duty, it was called. So you had to, if a school needed a player for a promotion or a hospital or, going in to see sick kids or whatever it was, or a business to promote a business, you were on duty all that week after training to go and do it. Martinez was kind of one of them where, look, you have to know who you're playing for. Like, you work for the fans, basically. You're working for that area. That's what your primary job is. So you have to know the people who you're playing for and what do they want, that type of way.
Yeah.
So we would be sent into the steel plants in Port Talbot and all the rest of it. Now, sometimes you hate doing it as a player. You just think, I just want to go home and sleep.
Yeah, of course.
But again, it takes nothing for an hour out of your time just to pop into a school, say hello. And I think Sunderland had a massive disconnect for about 10 years where some of the lads weren't even signing autographs, getting off the bus, headphones on, some of them sunglasses, stupid stuff, walking straight past fans, like not even stopping to sign an autograph. Like, proper diva celebrity stuff.
Just doesn't work for a place like Sunderland, does it?
No, not in Sunderland. It doesn't. And that's where I think, a manager to come in and just say, look, you have to understand the type of people you're playing for here. What do they expect? You know what I mean? And then the players have to buy into it. If the players don't buy into it, nothing works.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's pretty hard to get right. Like, I mean, you can imagine all the managers of Sunderland. They don't try and go out and fail. They'll be gutted. When they lose matches, they probably don't sleep. They probably go home and sit there and think, oh God, I've just got absolutely hammered off 46,000 people here. You probably can't sleep at night thinking, how am I going to get this right? But it's, if the players ultimately have to take responsibility, I think, especially senior ones. If they're not doing the business or they look disinterested or wherever it is, I mean, just leave. Leave and then get the right recruitment process in where you think, right, well, let's sign the right types of characters for this area.
Some exchange betting companies run short-lived promotions, like months-long offers of low commission. At BetDAG, we wanted to change the way we did things, so we set our commission at 2% permanently. That's 2% on football, horse racing, golf, almost any sport. 2%. That's just one way that BetDAG is changing for the better. For the better, like you. BetDAG, the 2% commission exchange.
Over 18s only, please gamble responsibly.
You mentioned about the recruitment being wrong and stuff like that, and it's funny, what kind of totally led me on to the next question I was going to ask in a way. The 2 7th place finishes, that playoff, I mean, I was like 12, 13, and it was amazing. I still remember it. I could tell you the lineups, the attendances, the minutes were scored, the goals. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it just went totally wrong. Yeah. And I think that the basic answer that I've had from a few people is, well, we brought in too many foreign players. We broke up their team spirit, but there's got to be more to it than that. Yeah. What was your thoughts on why it went so drastically and quickly wrong from that 7th place to like 17th? Confidence
as well. Like, again, like, it doesn't matter if a footballer's on X amount of money. They're human beings, number one. Yeah. And they need to be confident. They need to be backed up. And I think at home at Sunderland, the stadium, when it's a packed house, you can kind of, they get used to those expectations of finish 7th to finishing 7th. When all of a sudden you lose 2 or 3 games and you're sliding down the table a bit, you can hear it. You can sense it, even after 10 minutes, you can kind of one bad pass and you can hear the boos and the groans and all that. And it does, I think, if you've got 3 or 4 players, I was probably one of those players when I played, I'm thinking, God, one bad pass here and I've got a whole stand, like, thinking, booing you. And then it becomes more then in your mind then of, I just don't want to make the next mistake. Forget you. So you're just blinded in your mind of, if I make a mistake here, I'm going to get absolutely hammered.
Becomes a hot potato.
Yeah, and everyone's scared. So then people are not really wanting to get on the ball, and they're all shunning away. And again, there's not going to be any sympathy for that. People say, well, you're on 30, 40 grand a week. You should be brave. You should want to get on the ball. But again, like I say, they're human beings. So they'll, especially if there's some young players in the team as well, they're going to look and think, do I really want to get the ball here and lose it and get slaughtered by whoever? And again, that translates then to the opposition. They pick up on that fear as well.
Oh, massively.
The opposition thinking, if we get 0-0 at half time here away at Sunderland, we know the crowd are going to jump on them here and get on their back. So it almost gives them an advantage.
Now, been a thing for years, hasn't it?
Yeah. You can't blame them. Look, people work hard all week, Monday to Friday, they're out grafting, and they think, right, I'm going to go Saturday and have a right vent. Some people do, and I'm just going to let it all out. It's fine. They pay the money, let them, you can go and do what you want. But, I think a little bit of it, sometimes you can play into the opposition's hand at times. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I understand the frustration. If you've gone through as many years of pain as Sunderland fans have, they've every right to just be angry if something, especially in league, like yesterday, for example, prime example. I was at the match last night and I know it was 1-1, but you could hear the groans after 10 or 15 minutes, and then when they scored, and some of the shouts were Jack Ross out, hearing.
No.
Like,
I'm not on board with that.
No, I don't think they're all out, but just saying when you're hearing stuff like that and then it goes around, it can translate onto the pitch. But, you know, I just think with them, with Sunderland, for the last 10 years, it's been like that. And I've just been talking earlier on. I remember away from home, a completely different kind of mentality. Sometimes I used to think, oh yes, I'm playing away from home.
Yeah. Because
the fans were, I don't know what it was. It was like they'd out-sing whoever it was in the state. I think we played Sheffield United away in the Championship, I think, when Mick McCarthy.
Kevin Kyle?
I think, yeah, that was it. And I think, honest to God, you couldn't hear the Sheffield United fans. Sunderland fans outsung them for 90 minutes. And it was more, I don't know, it just felt less pressure.
Yeah.
Now, again, people go, you should want to play in front of 50,000 people. And that's, you know, but when it turns nasty, it's not a good place to be. It's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not at all. And not anywhere. Like, no one likes, if you're going in every Saturday and thinking, right, we're in a team, we're going to probably struggle, the other opposition are probably better. And you know as well, you know, oh God, we're losing 2 or 3-0 here. You're just, oh God, please make this end.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and then you get in a slump then. You know, you get in a kind of a downward spiral, and then losing sometimes then just becomes an actual habit of just, we've done all right for spells, but we lost 1-0. And that's a horrendous mentality. But once that sets in,
characters as well. Like, I mean, it's that definitely, as a fan, and have been since the stadium opened and beforehand, you can definitely feel that negativity that sometimes comes across. But I suppose when we're talking about like that season when Reidy went, you'd lost Alex Ray by that point, Hutchinson.
Hutchinson's a massive loss.
Chris Macon. I mean, Hutchinson as a player and both as a character. Summerby was gone by that. Well, he wasn't gone. He was ostracised, wasn't he? For one reason or another. There was only really character-wise. You had Mickey Gray, Sorensen, Phillips. Quinny was gone by then,
and even Thomas Sorensen was quiet lad. Didn't really speak much. But you're right. Like, it's like anything. That's where the recruitment's vital. Yeah, it's saying, right, we're getting rid of 4 strong characters here. The next ones we bring into the team, they have to be equally, you know, they have to be on the exact same level as those types of lads, or else don't be surprised if there's a slump. Like, again, it just felt like sometimes it was blind in the windows. They just, like, you know, Ellis Shaw gets a lot of stick, but he just threw money at it probably without any thinking behind it. You know what I mean? Like, I was in, you know, the manager has a way of playing, has their identity of what way they want to play. Then they need to speak to the scouting department and say, right, these are the types of players I need to play in this system. Go get them. But if there's a big gap there, no communication, and they're signing players who don't fit into the way they play, like, again, I keep saying rocket science all the time. You look at the successful teams around, like, you know, they probably have a director of football or someone in that just links all these departments together and does the right job. And I think they're becoming really important now as well. If you get the right type of director of football in that has a really good relationship with the manager and an understanding of how they play, he does all the work for the manager. Doesn't have to think about players. He just, right, you get on to day-to-day operations with the football team. Let the director of football then go and get these players that fit into your system. So you don't have to worry about it. But that all sounds really simple, but for some reason, you know, just year after year after year, instead of, right, why is this all going wrong? And everyone getting in a room and crunching together, saying, right, we're not leaving this room until we go through all the mistakes we keep on making. So we keep on making the same mistakes, but let's get in a room, let's go through everything and come up with a good solution. And for some reason, for years, as you guys know as fans, you must have been all thinking the same thing. Like, in a business, in a corporation, if profits were sliding every year, something to be done about it. There'd be restructuring, or there'd be something done. But football clubs shouldn't be any different, really.
No,
you know,
you're totally right.
I did feel sorry on some of the managers that came in sometimes. You have to look, and just some of them thinking, well, did they really get the players they wanted? Probably not. Probably got a list of, say, right, you want 4 players, but here's a list of 20. And you know, you can't get him, but here's your 4th choice or whatever. So what can you do? Talking
of managers, I think when you really started getting into the team, obviously when Reidy had gone and stuff like that, so another man that came in.
Don't mention him.
I'm going to have to.
Oh, God.
Howard Wilkinson.
Strange one to him, because, like, he won the Premier League with Leeds, England manager. So again, who am I to question this guy? But at the same time, you know, it was like going back to school. Like, it literally was, you know, you'd be in a classroom and you'd be doing stuff for like 2 hours on a, you know,
Matt Piper said that
on
you
a
do
whiteboard.
like less training to the point where we were like the players were unfit.
We were already unfit. We all probably weren't near it, like as in matching even teams for fitness, you know. But I think tactically he tried to probably educate us about football and about. He just didn't have enough time. Premier League, you don't. You've 4 or 5 games, and if you don't win in that spell, the fans are on you and you're out. Like, it's literally, you don't have. Sometimes you don't have time unless you come into a pre-season and you've got 2 months to work and implement what you want to do without losing games, and you get that period, and the players get it.
Yeah,
you have a chance. But when he came in, it was just, honest to God. I think for me, that's what I should have left. I should have went into my agent or went to the chief exec and said, look, you got to get me out of here. I'm absolutely the most depressed man in the world.
Yeah.
Coming in here every day and having to sit in a classroom. And I mean, one time we had, I think, it was a Play-Doh. There was like 16 of us in. I'm not kidding you. So we're all sitting along, and all on our desks was all this like mold, like clay. And he was like, whatever way you mold this kind of gives me a picture of who you are as a player and a man and all this. And we're like, football is generally, you're not really deep people, like, you know what I mean? Real basic, most of us anyway. So you can imagine what the lads were sculpting.
Yeah.
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were sculpting all sorts, and then it turned into a you know, a clay fight.
Yeah.
So no one took it seriously, and I think we went out and started up beat 4-0 or whatever. So what waste of time? Like, just, I was doing this type of stuff. I was thinking, this, and then you go out, you do a warm up. You'd warm up for like 40 minutes, and then this is probably like, you know, whatever, in the cold months, be hailstone and it'd be snowing and everything, you know, so it'd be freezing. So you do a warm up, stop, and they would throw in for like 40 minutes. So you're all standing around working on a throw in. And I'm going, if you can't throw a ball in, and I can't trust a professional footballer to throw a ball in, forget it.
Yeah.
Give up. But you do that for like 40 minutes. So you've warmed up, then you've stopped still, so your body's stopped for 40 minutes, you're standing about. And then you have to do another warm up again to do something else and all the rest of it. And that was it for me. I was absolutely like broken. I used to just come home every day and thinking, oh, I'm dreading going in tomorrow.
So many little details. I remember, you know, you used to have Cottrell writing the notes on the touchline as well. And you just see him sitting there like, I mean,
that was the academic side of it. Yeah.
There was that geese story as well that Matt Piper mentioned.
Another one, when they come in and he goes, right, lads, I'm going to show you the best team in the world. And we were like, right, Brazil, Argentina, whatever it was. And we were thinking, at least we're looking at a good team and it's not some stupid class, whatever it was. And then Attenborough comes on. I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? So I see all these geese flying in formation. And then he's like, oh, look, when one geese drops out here, another one fills in and helps him out, helps his mate out. I could understand what he's trying to say, like as in, you help your mate out on the pitch. Basically, that's what you're trying to tell us. But I was just like thinking to myself, we're playing Arsenal probably on Saturday, Henry, Perez and all these guys. And he's shown us a video with geese in it. And we're already struggling. We're probably unfit. I would say motivated. Morale's at an all-time low. And I was just going, God, get me out of this place. This is a joke, surely. But honestly, yeah. They used to hire, I think, psychologists and all sometimes. Must have paid them a fortune. Come in and try and analyse you. Get me out on the pitch. Either work me, get me fit, or, you know, work on the do something. I mean, they weren't all bad, don't get me wrong, as in some players actually like this, so it's all about opinions.
Yeah.
But it was so extreme, I think they probably lost 60-70% of, you used to just drift off. You know, if you can tell when footballers are in meetings, anything past 10-15 minutes where you need them to concentrate, anything after probably 15 minutes, you've lost them.
Yeah.
You literally have. Probably most people are generally in meetings, start daydreaming and stuff, you know what I mean? So
how did the senior pros take that? Because you've got people like Kevin Phillips and I think you would have had Sorensen at that point. Kilban would have been a senior pro at that point, and you're going from a team who's, I mean, we'll talk about the 7th place finishes, but there's points when we were second off top. Yeah. We could have been much higher than 7th.
There was no fear. So the difference between 7th twice was players played with no fear.
Yeah.
And that's a massive thing. Like, in it's confidence and just arrogance of playing and knowing, even going out, you always, when we finished 7th twice, you had that kind of feeling that every time you went out and you played or the team played, it didn't matter which team you were playing. Kev was going to score if he got a chance. Quinny was going to set one up. Hutch was going to probably pick up a goal from somewhere. So you always knew, you felt that, you know what I mean? So I just think, but Wilco, when he came in, I just think when you restrict tactical, technical players and you try and turn them into robots, now he probably, who does this guy talk? I'm thinking, I couldn't care less. Just, it's what I've seen. If you're trying to change people, like trying to tell a player that's plays freely, like open the ball up and play and get on the ball and make things happen, and try and say to him, no, robotically, this is where we want you. Like try and predict the whole 90 minutes of where you should be and stand and do this and that. They're not even thinking about the game. They're more worried about, oh shit, should I be standing here in the 35th minute or there or there? They're not even noticing kind of what's going on, because you're more worried about, you're getting judged then after it and saying, right, they'll analyse a game and then probably say, was your body position right there when you received it? I think, listen, couldn't care less, like at that level, some of them. And again, I was one that was it. I was already dealing with lots of injuries as well at the time, come through, and I'd step out of a car and probably get injured. It was that bad. It's just embarrassing, And again, mostly my own fault, probably off the pitch. Diet was probably horrendous. Culture at the time was, if you went in a pub on a Saturday after a match or a Sunday, this guy's a weirdo. What's wrong with him? Not realising how much damage alcohol does to your muscles, especially in recovery. We didn't kind of have that information at the time, but it's common sense. You just, listen, you're an athlete, you're a professional footballer, act like one. But we were more recreational then, and all the sports science stuff comes out now, but when you look at the lads that finished probably 7 twice in those 2 years, they probably had to live the same way. We just got away with it for whatever reason. But, that was it for me. And I think Wilco was probably a combination of probably injuries and a big bit of depression of, when you did get in, you were constantly playing in pain and all the rest of it. I just said, right, that's it. Had enough of this. And I should have just went into the chief exec or rang the agent up and said, look, just all I needed then was a change of scenery. As soon as you stop learning as a young player, as soon as you stop learning and you feel like you're not advancing or progressing, you need to get out. And for me, when you're a youth team player and you come up, you get really, you get used to your surroundings, you get really comfortable. So it's hard to just turn around and just do that. And again, at that age as well, there wasn't really much information about mental health or, I think probably now, if that was a similar situation, someone would have just went, right, this guy is having a meltdown here. He's unhappy, he's injured, he's this, that and the other. He's saying, I don't want to go in, I don't want to play. This guy's absolutely killing me every day. It's just so bad, but nowadays someone would just go, hold on a minute, go and see the sports psychologist and have a chat with him, or take a couple of weeks out or whatever. And that was it really. That's where it came from. But you can't blame Sunderland either, because they're paying you to be training and on a pitch. Yeah. So it
was a different era. It wasn't that long ago, but it's changed massively. It's
completely different now, yeah. And I think I was too young to understand probably what I was going through there as well. As you opened your mouth and you pulled something, said, listen, I'm struggling, my head's gone. You're weak. You are weak as piss, and that's it. And that's where you were more afraid of that probably than anything else. Whereas now there's a lot more. You can go and, they have, a lot of clubs have psychologists part of the club now, and some of them, Brendan Rodgers, when at Swansea, I think it was once a week you had to go and see a sports psychologist for an hour. I think he made every player go. So the only thing with that is you'd be worrying whether he's feeding the stuff back to the manager. But again, ethically, I don't think it would have happened. But you just missed out on that era around then, and eventually things improved and got better. But that was it. I think once you stop as a young player, as soon as you stop learning, that's it. I think that's when you need to change the scenery. You need to get out of there.
Obviously, he was only there, I want to say it was 3-4 months. That wasn't long. And then Mick McCarthy comes in. But Mick McCarthy gave you a debut for Republic of Ireland. So that must have been a huge boost for you mentally, probably physically as well, because you'll want to be like fit as you can be for him. Yeah. I think, I don't need to ask the question, obviously he was very different, incredibly different.
Mick was brilliant.
Wilco.
Mick was brilliant, yeah. I mean, I think the damage was done with me, I think, before, even when Mick came in.
Beforehand?
Yeah. Okay. I think confidence-wise and injuries and I'd say mental health at that time from being I would say, I don't know, on a scale I've probably been depressed, but I wouldn't have said it was extreme, but definitely just, numb at some stage of just thinking, I'm that depressed at how bad training is and all the rest of it. you know, I think that was just on a downward spiral. And again, when you're in that frame of mind as well, you pick up injuries even more because your body's under so much stress then as well. You're just worried about stuff that doesn't really matter, but in your head it does, you know. So I think when Mick came in again, it was like, oh, yes, Mick's in. Mick's really honest, brilliant, good man manager. Mick was a little bit like Reidy in the case of boundaries, basics. Let's get them sweating again. Let's get them training properly. You know, let's get the atmosphere going again. Mick was brilliant on that front, you know. And again, for me, it was just, I think I picked up a few more. I think it was like a few hamstring tears as well under Mick. So again, it was just doom for that. So again, for me, if it was going back in time, you would have just said, as soon as the Wilco thing ended, get out.
Yeah.
And the club even then probably should have said, get this guy out quick, sell him. At least get like whatever, get 50 grand, 100 grand from him. At least then we get some. No, I didn't cost any money. I think I cost like 2 grand or something. I think that's what was my what I was kind of thinking I was bought for. But it was a shame. I think most players do when they leave. When players leave clubs, most players leave on bad terms, as in, and you are when you're young, you're like that. You're gutted about. You're thinking, you know, what about all the good times you had there as well? You always think, you know. Like you remember playing the Premier League, getting man of the matches and stuff. So
yeah,
you kind of have to give yourself a break when you get older. You have to look back and think, yeah, look, I could, you know, I've made lots of mistakes. You would change lots of things, but at the same time, it's finished now. You have to look back and think, well, look, you know, as a young kid growing up, you know, you say, I want to play in the Premier League. I want to play in the score a goal in the FA Cup, you know, rounds, and you know, I want to play for my country. So on a tick list, you're thinking, right, well, I've ticked those boxes. Didn't have a stellar career of, you know, most people, you think like judge success. You say, well, what's success? They say, well, 500 league games in the Premier League. That's a successful career. But everyone has individual, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Individual ideas of what success is. And I mean, I have to kind of look at that and say, look, given the injuries and everything I sustained probably over the year, I mean, I had 7-8 operations in, say, 12 years. So that's, again, I mean, I'm even amazed another club signed me, given you have that much. I mean, the sheets, when you used to do the insurance forms and we went to clubs, embarrassing. You'd be there, you'd be going through sheets and stuff. So when did you have an operation? You'd be going through lists and lists and lists of operations. But that's the way I think you have to look at it is, you know, look, as a kid, you'd snap the hands off that as a young kid because the odds are obviously stacked against you. But yeah, you're good. I live in Sunderland now. My girlfriend's from here, so it's I have lots of friends from Sunderland. So you are a little bit gutted that you're thinking, I wish it finished on better terms. But you know, you still have all the memories and all the good stuff as well that happened as well. You know,
you came on to exactly what I was going to go on to because the season after he got relegated, I think Mick did a great job. I don't think it gets loaded enough. I know the first season didn't go up, but we got one FA Cup semi, and for you played a lot more. Yeah. Obviously, we dropped down a division. We'd lost. Julio was fit, obviously, which was your side, but much more opportunity. You were getting in the team. I remember a game against, I think it was Ipswich at home. We won 3-2. We played really well. Yeah. But we'll come up to a game against Nottingham Forest. You've just kind of touched on you were suffering mentally massively. So Mick McCarthy comes in. That's obviously a boost for you, I would imagine. Yeah. But you come to the Nottingham Forest game, you're playing more regularly and stuff like that. I mean, the story's not really touched on. Yeah. Many people know of what happened and various different avenues. But at the same time, you said about Wilkinson that you knew you were struggling at that point. Yeah. Then you come to Mick McCarthy comes in, someone you evidently trust or like, but you still sort of struggle with it. So kind of run me through from the start of that season up to that Forest game when you got took off early. Yeah. I think Kyle came on. Yeah. Give me the full story, like from start to finish as best you can.
Yeah, no, well, that was it. Like it was, you know, Mick was fantastic. I think it was the roles were reversed and I had a Mick instead of a Wilco come in at that time. Mm-hmm. Again, things probably would have been completely different, but... I think, the damage definitely was done for me in my mind and my body as well. It was just battered and probably struggling a lot with injuries as well, in pain as well every day. And I mean, you're getting out of bed, you're taking 200 milligrams of, you know, anti-inflammatories and 200 milligrams of paracetamol or whatever just to get through a training session and stuff. So building up to that, played a few games obviously in the championship, done well. I was kind of in and out. It was play one game, play one average game, play one game, play one bad game. So it was trying to get that consistency together as well as you do. But I remember the Nottingham Forest game. I actually overhydrated. When I look back now, I know a lot more about sports science and all the rest of it. And I remember that game because obviously I knew I was starting. I actually had family over to watch it, which was even worse. Do you know what I mean? So, and I just remember I had no energy. I had absolutely no energy. So I drank about 4 litres of water the night before, and I was drinking water all the way through the day. And they say, obviously, if you drink too much water, you know, obviously you piss out all the nutrients and all the rest of it. So I remember just feeling really weak, like, you know. So obviously on the pitch, I was probably going dizzy after probably 20 minutes. Like I was literally going dizzy. I was thinking, even breakfast, I don't even think I ate breakfast, which was probably a stupid thing to do. But yeah, struggling. I think, to be fair, Mick's seen it. Mick's realist. He just saying it, went, Tommy fucking hell can't breathe here. Look at him. He's absolutely, and I was nowhere near it. Like, but not from the mental side of it. I was probably all right there. It was just literally, that was one catastrophic mistake of, what an idiot, drinking stupid amounts of water and ended up doing that. And that was it. Just Mick's just saying, right, you need to come off. And he was right. He was right to take me off. But obviously, as a young player, then you come off, I think it was probably like 20 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was. And then that was it. People thinking, wow, what's going on here with this guy? You know what I mean? Which is fine. If I was a fan going to watch a game with the exact same questions, you think, what the hell's going on here? But that's like a combination of a big build-up of things for a lot of months, probably coming down to that as well. But it wasn't just on that. That was literally what happened with the overhydration stuff. And I found out then down the line, when I was at Swansea, we were doing all the tests with hydration and stuff. I mean, Martinez was obsessed with it. You know, getting your hydration right. If you're overhydrated, even in a training session, you were pulled. They'd pull you out of it and say, right, your hydration's horrendous. You're not training today. Go and sit in the pool. Yeah. So you're kind of learning. And by the age of probably 26, 27, I probably got a good balance of learning about your body, what foods agree with you, how much to drink water-wise and all the rest of it. And I think at that time I didn't have a clue as well. Mm-hmm. So some weeks I'd play, I'd be full of energy, I'd do well. The next week I'd probably have no energy and thinking, but it's probably all based on diets and how much fluids you're having on board as well. So yeah, but it was. I mean, that is like a stressful time. It is like, no one wants to see you get whipped off after 20 minutes, but it's one of those things I think you look back on and you think, well, look, horrible time in your life, but at the same time is now as I'm retired, you know, I can look back and most players that aren't in the top 1% that have those stellar careers, you have more bad times than good anyway. Like, you know, I speak to most players that play League 2, League 1, probably Championship and float in between those leagues, and you ask those lads questions and you say, well, you always have more bad times than good times, always. So apart from those lads that have the 500 Premier League games where they'll have bad times as well, but look, as in if you're looking at silverware and all the rest of it, and that's what you're judging on. When I look back at that, you think, I wish that never happened, but it did. You know what I mean? So
did that change a lot of stuff for you? Because obviously, I don't think you played for the club again after that, did you?
No, I think that was it then, I think, for me.
Did you have a conversation? Did Mick approach you or did you approach Mick?
Not really. That's what was probably weird about. I think if Mick now would probably said, if that happened to a young player, you know, and again, you got to look at it as 2 years ago, I was probably worth about 3 million when I played 2 or 3 games in the Premier League and done really well. I had man of the matches and stuff. So even from an asset point of view as a club, you would probably have to step back and say, well, what's going on with this lad? He's absolutely plummeting here. Pull him aside and find out what's going on, because we could lose money here potentially. If we get him back on track, we could sell him. I might sell him for £1 million, at least get some money. You know, but I think Mick's just managers as well. I think especially Sunderland ones, they're so preoccupied with, I need to just get to Saturday and win this game. I don't have time. If there's someone outside that group that's needs extra help or they're struggling or whatever it is, I don't have time for that crap. I really don't. So you can, at the time you don't understand that, but on the outside of stuff, do they really have time to be sitting with you for a couple of hours? And I know managers, it's all different now. Look, if that was a Martinez or a Brendan Rodgers, they'd have you in the office for hours and hours and hours going through everything. You get all the help in the world. They'd want to get you back on track and all the rest of it. But I just think Mick, not his fault at all. He's
old school manager, wasn't it, really?
Well, not even old school. He's just thinking, oh, fucking hell, I've got to get the team ready for Saturday. I don't have time for this shit. And he, you know, he's right. You know, and I mean, I've spoke to Mick McCarthy since. I've met him a good few times, and you know, we get on really well. And you know, I probably haven't even mentioned it really. You know, so.
So did you just give you time to just go away?
Yeah,
did you just say, like, I'm struggling.
Yeah, well, I just said I can't do it. I said I just can't do it anymore. I said I was absolutely in a world of pain, depressed, aching physically. So I think the best thing for me would have been step away for a couple of months, just let your body, your mind heal or whatever it is, and go from there. But I think after that, then Sunderland, which is fair enough, to say, well, this guy's getting paid, a monthly wage. I wasn't on much at the time, a couple of grand a week compared to the big sums you have now, but still a really good wage. And they're thinking, well, if this guy's not coming in, well, then why should we pay him? So it just went back and forward from there, really. And then it was a kind of like, right, get your head together, get straight. Which, as you know, nowadays it's a lot more understanding with it. But then there wasn't really. It was just like, this guy's nuts. This guy's who doesn't want to play professional football? This guy's an absolute psychopath. So there was no sympathy, and there was no, nothing like that on the outside from anywhere. Like, even your friends be ringing you up going, "Hey, it's crazy. I work in a factory doing 50 hours a week," and you're saying, look, it doesn't work that way. You're a human being. It doesn't make a difference. If you're not happy, you're in pain and you're struggling. It doesn't matter if you're on 100 grand a week or £1 a week.
Yeah.
I've known people that probably not earn much, but they're probably happier than I know lads on 40, 50 grand a week that are miserable.
Yeah.
Now, you say that to people, they're like, what? Are you kidding me? I'm telling you, dude, lads on 40, 50 grand a week that aren't in a team, they're not playing, they're the most miserable people around. They're down, they're grumpy, they're, human beings at the end of the day,
And there was I'm really going back now, but I remember there wasn't a great deal of sympathy from not just Sunderland fans in general. You've seen the story, I don't get it. So you've got that kind of isolation, but how does that go? I mean, you got released eventually from the contract.
Yeah.
Was that a discussion that had to be had, or did they just ring you and say, look, you're not turning up, you're sacked, you're done? And then, I don't know which way around this is. Did you go against a club, or was it a club that went against you? Because there was some kind of...
Yeah, I think it was more like a... When you had time off to heal, basically, mentally and physically, you're thinking, right, what am I? I'm a footballer. Mm-hmm. I've done it all the way since I've been a kid. I want to get back into it now, and I need a gateway back. Because, unfortunately, when stuff like that happens, word gets about to like clubs, and everyone spreads about, and they talk and say, oh, is that psycho? Is that nut job that, And I was probably one of the first. If you see it happens a lot now, you probably, players just take a couple of months off or whatever it is for. People do it for alcohol addiction or whatever it is.
Lee Griffiths is currently with Celtic, yeah.
Yeah, so, it does happen quite a lot, but, both parties kind of arguing over, right, well, he wants to get back into football, and someone was saying, no, it's not happening with us. So that's where it all came back to it. And then eventually I got released from my contract, which was good because that meant I could go and play football, basically. So all I was saying probably in the end was I just want to, it's not going to be at Sunderland, but I need to get my registration back to go and play, really. So Sunderland could have probably just said, yeah, just do it. But it was taking a long time, months and all the rest of it. So that's where all that came from. And then obviously that was it. The damage was done in the UK as far as, words out. Managers, coaches, scouts speak to each other. It doesn't matter if you're a good player or not and you think you're better than what they have. They think, is this guy reliable? We can't rely on him because mentally we don't think he's ready. That type of way. So I probably missed out on about, I'd say 6-7 teams that were probably, we'll get him in, because we would have took him in before all this happened. But because of the mental health stuff or the mental issues of saying, well, oh God, like this guy just fucking walked away. He was moaning about this and that. That was it. So that kind of killed me a bit, killed my career. Well, it did actually. That's what killed my career, really. So you literally had to go from the bottom then and start and try and push back through, which then I went on to Dunfermline then in Scotland. Yeah. That's where I got, luckily enough, thank God, I was thinking just give me whatever, 5-6 months, get me back into enjoying football again. And that's what happened from there, really. So
when you've had something that massive happen to you, and not just in a professional career, but I suppose when you're in the public eye, people know about it.
Yeah.
Like, I still remember it happening.
Yeah.
Oh, did he retire? Did he not? What happened with him? And I was really interested in hearing the story about it, hence why I wanted you to come in. I believe you're still involved in football.
Yeah.
So how have you took that? I mean, what are you up to now, first and foremost?
Yeah.
I know you still watch Sunderland because you mentioned it, but how did you take that experience of the mental health issues into football now? Do you still take that into it? Does it?
Yeah. I mean, I work in sports management now, which is the evil of football now. But we're not very liked. But from the background and all I'd say that mostly mistakes again you've made in 15 years. So you kind of add them all up. They always outnumber the good things you do, and that goes for most people in football, footballers in general. So when I got into sports management, I thought, you know what, if I can get to young players before they jump in and make probably rash decisions, as in, I was probably right what I was trying to do to protect myself, but the way I went about it was probably wrong.
Yeah.
As in, I should have done things the right way. There was probably a better process of doing it. So, like in sports management, when you have your clients now, especially young players, they need so much help. Like, every single situation a young lad's been in, whether they've been injured or fans hate their guts or whatever it is, I've been there. So for me, it's trying to get to them to say, look, when this happens, I'll be the one ringing you to give you the right advice, because there's a high probability what you're going through, I've been through it. So my kind of role in our company would be more so based working with young players, like everything else included in that, like recruitment, scouting, all that type of stuff, trying to get players in, goes with it. But for me, I get a good kind of satisfaction out of, you know, I always say dodging bullets, players dodging bullets. There's all these problems for an 18-year-old, say, coming down the line for them. And it's how many can you dodge coming for you, really.
Yeah.
Whereas I probably went head first into probably so many of them. And I think, you know what, if I had the right advice probably around then, I still probably would have made some mistakes, but the fallout wouldn't have been as bad. Do you know what I mean? It would have been dealt with a lot better. So I kind of take a good bit of pride in that, thinking hopefully I can turn around after, you know, one of our clients 15 years and say, look, well done. You came out of that one. Remember when this happened and we helped you and we done this and that. Again, most agencies or most people I know that are agents do similar stuff. And again, you're always going to get the tiny percentage of, you know, thieves out there that just in it, that just transactions.
Yeah, of
piece
course.
of meat moves from A to B. I get paid X and I've got nothing to do with it. Whereas, you know, I work for a proper sports management company where, you know, we have long-term relationships generally with our clients. You know, we do everything off the pitch to try and secure their futures and make sure they're all right, you know. And again, it's one of the big things for me is, again, because what I've been through and all the rest of it, that type of advice, if you could pay for that now to dodge all those bullets, as I call them, coming along the way, it's so valuable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is. But yeah, like, I mean, I'm enjoying that side of it, but the political side of things as well, you see the other side of it where, I mean, it's obviously, especially with Sunderland, I know I'd probably be executed walking near the stadium saying you're an agent now at this stage because they hate it, you know, and it's rightly so, because the last 10 years, I just think the club has had the piss absolutely taken from them beyond belief.
Massively, yeah.
Unbelievable. You know, like, it's just so much more. I think it's like 4 or 5 million in agents' fees or something like that.
Yeah, it was insane. I can't remember the exact figure, but it was pretty high for the return we had on it, shall we say.
And again, for players then again who are the wrong types of players. So you don't want, sometimes you think, right, you know what, paying agents' fees is great if you get a striker in and scores 40 goals and you're bombing up the league. I couldn't care less if you pay a few million in agents' fees because you're getting the right players. Yeah. But I just think they've been lied to. I think they've been done a lot through it, and, you know, exaggerated prices and all the rest of it. I mean, the new chairman must have went through the books and just got sick when he's seen some of the stuff and just thought, right, that's it. I'm going to get a crossbow out. Anyone coming near the place is getting it. Do you know what I mean? So
he doesn't seem to suffer fools when it comes to agents anyway. But.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But there are, like, I mean, for the ones that are crooks that are out there, and there are, some of the stuff I've seen is absolutely horrendous, like, as in so immoral. But again, it's, you know, anywhere where there's money or huge volumes of money, there's always going to be a corrupt element of people trying to extort and get one over on the other, and all the rest of it. It happens in every business. Football's no different. You know, you're going to get it. You get it. It's just unfortunate. I think Sunderland has probably had the worst of it. So again, you can understand the fans' frustration. They're pissed off. They're pissed off on the pitch. The team aren't kind of playing well and all the rest of it. And then all this other stuff's going on. So you can, as a fan or a young lad growing up here, I'd be angry. I'd be pissed off every day or going in. So you can understand the frustration 100%. But the only thing I'll say is it's, you know, if you get 40,000 fans and they're all, say positive as in, look, even if you draw a game, just try your best to not. Just try to have an away fans mentality at home, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
It might help. Just try it and see if it works. If it doesn't work, I think so. They are, and it's that old cliche is the 12th man. They are, like, you know what I mean. I remember when they were playing Chelsea, you know, winning 3-1, and when Quinny, Super Kev scored that goal. the fans like were like, honestly, like the noise of them. It was just everything that was working, everything that went right. It was all positivity. It was places bouncing. Training was good. The energy, everything was flying. It's just, it takes a few little negative things to creep in for everything to crumble. Yeah. You know, so I just think the fans are so valued. The fans probably don't realise how valuable they are at home and how much of an impact they have on the team. They honestly, like, I think it's so hard now. There'll be loads of fans going, okay, is this guy for real or what? I should be allowed to scream and shout and same old Sunderland and all this.
Yeah.
The lads are trying their best. Like, you know, it's League One's a hard league. It's not easy.
No, it's a slog. And
the young lads in the team, they're gonna make mistakes. You know, they're gonna misplace a pass or hit the wrong diagonal ball or go out play. It's League One. You know, it's gonna happen. You know, but yeah, so it's just interesting times ahead, isn't it? So
it's not drawn 1-1 everywhere.
Well, that's the thing with the draws. When I was, who did we have? We had Paulo Sousa came in from Swansea.
Yeah.
And he was tactical mad because he was basically from the Italian background and Juventus and all the rest of it. And we must have had, I think we had a record in the championship, 10 draws in a row.
Yeah.
And with the stick we were getting booed for fun. But he was like going, what's wrong with these fans? He said in Italy, these are great results. He said 0-0, 1-1, 0-0, 1-1. He said, that's fantastic. What's wrong with them? You know, so he couldn't believe it. He was saying, they don't know, they don't have a clue, they don't know what they're talking about. But again, you can understand the fans are just thinking, bored out of my mind here, because Swansea was just possession. That's it. All they cared about was keeping the ball and hoping the other team would get really tired and one or two players would switch off and you'd play through the lines and then you'd score. But it was always, that was kind of what the mentality was there. It is annoying, like, I can understand it. You know, it's
you just always want to see wins.
You want action.
Yeah.
You know, like if you look at Sunderland even now, if you said to them, would you want to, what type of football do you want to play? Like, what do the fans want to see? Like, do they want a possession-based team? Do they want a counter-attacking team? Or do they want a defensive type of a team? I don't even know what they want.
No, same.
Do you know what they want? I don't know.
Ones that score lots of goals.
Just all action.
Any which way, because we had it passing under Poyet.
Yeah.
We had the counter-attacking under O'Neill.
Yeah.
We had... Well, I'm not sure what Jack Ross is doing at the moment. It seemed to be possession at first and attacking football, and then it sort of changed. I think the thing with Sunderland is put the ball in the back of the net, win games, and
we don't care how we play once we win.
Sam Allardyce football was the best we've seen in a while, and that says everything.
Yeah, but I think, you know, I mean, I keep on about Martinez at Swansea, right? But this guy came in, right, and this is League One, and he said we're going to pass teams off the pitch, and we're going to average something like 700-800 passes a game. I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. And we were looking at them going, this guy's going to be sacked 5 games. League One, and he wants us to pass the ball about. I was thinking, no chance this is going to work. And the fans weren't used to that type. I was thinking the fans aren't going to like this type of football either. So they got used to it after a while. After like 4 or 5 games, we drew a few games, but we're just keeping the ball. And the fans were just quiet. They were kind of making up their mind whether they're going to go with it or not, you know. And then when we started grinding teams down and the quality started coming and we started scoring the goals to add to it, and we started obviously tearing up through the leagues, the fans loved it.
Yeah.
So they could never change now. So the Swansea fans now, it's all about culture. Like, if you look at it, if you went down to Swansea now and started playing Sam Allardyce football, fans would be uproar. There'd be riots. They'd hate it because they love seeing this type of football they play now. Do you know what I mean? So I think at Sunderland, I would have loved to see someone like that come in at some stage. I know in the Premier League, say someone like a Brendan Rodgers or someone to come in, because I think that type of manager would probably change the culture of the whole place, club, how fans, like the perception of how they want to be seen, to how you play football. Like, you have to convince them that this is the way you want to play and you should enjoy it, and then add all the bits and bobs to it. But there's very few managers that are that good to do it.
Yeah.
So I think someone like I would have loved to see Brendan Rodgers here. I hope he comes in the future. I hope he's unbelievable.
My family's all Rangers fans on the other
Are
side,
they?
so I have to...
Look at that look he gave me there. Look. Yes, I know, yeah. Get him out. But no, like he is. I've seen him. I mean, surprise. I was injured down there for 2 years with a hip injury. I used to just watch him training, watch what he did and all the rest of it. I was thinking, this guy's absolutely light years ahead.
Yeah.
Even then, you know, 2010, 11. He was probably 10 years ahead even then, you know, with the stuff he was doing. So I would have just loved Sunderland, a massive club like this, with all the facilities and everything they have. If they had that type of person in place, probably when they were in the Premier League and all the rest of it.
Of course.
Probably should have busted a gut probably to get him, I know, but...
Never works that easy, does it?
But no more Swansea stories or else I'm barred. I'm kicked out of here.
No, I just want to thank you very much for coming on, Tommy, mate.
No,
really
it's great.
appreciate it.
Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on, and cheers,
Perfect.
mate.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Some exchange betting companies run short-lived promotions, like months-long offers of low commission. At BetDAG, we wanted to change the way we did things, so we set our commission at 2% permanently. That's 2% on football, horse racing, golf, almost any sport. 2%. That's just one way that BetDAG is changing for the better. For the better, like you. BetDAG, the 2% commission exchange.
Over 18s only, please gamble responsibly.